Welcome back once again to Shark Show. Today, Nate, Courtney, we're going to be talking about Mark Zuckerberg in Hood County.
What?
Yeah, not physically, but monetarily in Hood County. And of course, this is brought about by the elections administrator, Michelle Carew, coming to Commissioner's Court and wanting to get $29,000 of private Mark Zuckerberg, Facebook guy money.
Yeah.
So here we go. Commissioner's Court, not even here, I don't know how long, couple months.
I think she said 6 weeks.
6 weeks, okay. And we're at Commissioner's Court asking for $29,000 from Mark Zuckerberg because we don't get enough from, the CARES Act?
Yeah,
right?
The CARES Act.
Or the county or the state that we have to bring in private money.
Right.
Okay. Next, discuss and take appropriate action authorizing county judge to sign Center for Tech and Civic Life COVID-19 response grant totaling $29,368.50. This is a non-matching grant. Okay, Michelle.
Okay, so I just want to give you a little bit of background on this grant. The amount of the grant shall be expended on the following specific election administration needs. Nonpartisan voter education, personal protective equipment for staff, poll workers, or voters, poll worker recruitment funds, hazard pay and or training expenses, polling place rentals and cleaning expenses for early voting or election day, temporary staffing, voting materials in languages other than English, and vote by mail, absentee voting equipment or supplies. One thing I want to tell you guys about the Center for Tech and Civic Life, and I've got a lot to tell you guys, so bear with me. They are a nationally recognized, nonpartisan, nonprofit organization. They have an advisory committee of election officials from across the country. Currently, they're reporting that the grant program is successful. They started off with a $250 million donation to be used across the United States, and then today they were just given an additional $100 million. So they have $350 million to use across the United States. I want to let you guys know that the county election official has discretion on how the money is to be used. So that's further down in the those are other items that I'll go over with you as we go upon them.
So what is this group, Courtney, that she's talking about?
It's called the Center for Tech and Civic Life. And you can go to their website and you scroll down at the bottom of the page and you can see where their funding comes from. And there's, at this meeting, several people brought up mention of these companies because they are all very, very liberal, left-leaning companies. And a few of them stuck out to me. The one that stuck out to me the most, and this is just because from my past, when I was a childhood, I remember Rock the Vote. That was something that came out few decades back. And I think it was started by one of the record owners, and it was big on MTV and VH1, Rock the Vote, Get Out, Rock the Vote. And so I went to their website to check it out and see who funded them, and they are solely funded by places like Planned Parenthood, Pro-Choice America, Everytown for Gun Safety.
Pro-Choice America?
Pro-Choice America, Everytown for Gun Safety Action Fund.
Oh my gosh, it's a liberal socialist list.
Just to name a few, and not only that, but they actually have a voter guide on their website. So when you go to their website, you can see who you should or should not vote for that supports causes like Planned Parenthood and pro-choice and gun safety. So as you can imagine, none of the mentions on their voter guide are for any kind of conservative Republican. And another point to mention is in the groups that are funding the Center for Tech and Civic Life, one of them was the Rockefeller Brothers Fund. And I looked into them, and they have a lot of funding over in China for programs in China and over in the East. And it just kind of didn't make sense to me why this group is so heavily invested over there in China. What are they doing sending money to a grant program for elections here in the United States? It was kind of fishy and a big red flag for me.
And whether it's 29,000 or 290,000, taking money from organizations or the government, be it state or federal, it comes with strings, right? And I don't think that the people of Hood County want financial ties to big tech, left-leaning organizations, Planned Parenthood, especially with all the censorship and all that stuff going on out of Zuckerberg right now. I really don't see this as being popular with the people when they know about it.
This is private money that's being offered to counties by Mark Zuckerberg and his wife Priscilla. And the lady that's on this contract for Center for Tech and Civic Life that you're asking the judge to sign today, her name is Tiana M. Johnson. Do you know who Tiana M. Johnson is?
I do not know her personally.
She's a former elections administrator for New Organizing Institute, NOI. It's a nonprofit tech-based outfit that developed a digital strategy for progressive campaigns. She's also connected to the Skoll Foundation, and she's also connected to the Democracy Fund. Do you know who the Democracy Fund is?
I do.
Do you know who's behind the Democracy Fund?
I do not.
Fast Forward is also behind this Center for Tech and Civic Life. Do you know who Fast Forward is? I'll tell you. It's a Black Lives Matter defund the police outfit that's spending all kinds of money to basically put campaigns out there to defund the police. Defund the police.
And it's past left-leaning. This is socialism coming in at its best. And here we have an elections administrator who is the president of the Elections Administrative Association for Texas.
Yep.
And who's in the know, who knows about all these things, and yet brings this $29,000 grant to the commissioner's court. Not only that, but there are some lawsuits involved in this, and she knew about the lawsuits. So,
were you aware that federal lawsuits have been filed in Dallas County and Harris County to block these grants?
It's my understanding that the lawsuit that was filed on Friday did not include Dallas and Harris. It had Hayes County, Travis County, and another small county.
So here's but Harris County's involved as well. There's their argument for filing these federal lawsuits is that this is a private entity trying to create a public-private partnership for the administration of a federal election.
So there's something in there that they're giving to these counties and Democrat counties. It could be used for what? Sending out ballots by mail.
Yeah.
And it's pure discretion of the election administrator, meaning no oversight. But where do you think it's going to go? You look at the list and you look at Mark Zuckerberg. This is purely simple, a Democrat ploy. And who talks about it? Your elections administrator. Who pushes it? James Deaver, who's going to be gone, thank goodness.
Yeah.
And if you listen to these other clips that we have, the judge, James Deaver, and Michelle Carew talk about it. And it's just plain and simple. And thank goodness we have Commissioner Eagle.
Bringing a little common sense to the court.
I'm glad one of them did some research into this organization and where the money comes from. I wonder how many of them actually knew about it prior to him mentioning it. And if they did know, why didn't they mention it?
You know, sometimes it's not worth the money. It's worth the principle. And if you don't have principle enough, then you shouldn't even be on that court. And it's time we get some conservative members up in that court.
You know, the other thing with this, with there being no oversight, she can spend it on whatever she wants. This $29,000 to me sounds like a slush fund. It sounds like a slush fund for whatever the heck she wants.
We need to not only look at who we elect, but we need to look at who our elected officials hire.
And I was doing research in what are the Democrats doing, because they've got this, blue wave movement thing going on, and the training that they do and where they get people involved and how they get them into positions at the local level. They're literally training their people on how to get into those positions at the local level, to start out with small little bits of influence, and you eventually chip away and the whole thing crumbles down.
Yeah, things like the Library Advisory Board or the Historical Commission, stuff like that. There are all those little boards where you can get in there, you start to network and, fool the people enough to say, hey, yeah, maybe I'm a Democrat, but I'm not that bad.
This video portion was probably about 35 minutes long.
Yeah.
And once Commissioner Eagle spoke, talked about Zuckerberg, talked about all the things you did, Courtney, on where they fall on the list, it should have stopped. It should have stopped about 14 minutes in. Mm-hmm. And it should have been no discussion. It should have been over with. But then we have Commissioner Deaver, we have Commissioner Cotton, and we have the judge trying to eke out that $29,000 when they should have just stopped. So I think we need to have a reset on the court and have them maybe become familiar with what morality is and what we expect here in Hood County.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, they could use a crash course.
And don't you think that as the election administrator, the president of the election administrators here in Texas should know all about that?
Absolutely. That's her responsibility to know where the money is coming from.
Once again, I'm just so glad that we have Commissioner Dave Eagle up on the court. He spots this stuff. He actually does research, unlike some members of the court, before he gets up there. And he is up there fighting to make sure that we're not going to have outside influence from globalists or Chinese communists or anybody like that. Because, again, that money comes with strings. So I'm just glad we got Dave Eagle up there, and I'm looking forward to the 2 new members of the court taking their place behind the dais in January.
And, I agree. And you just talked about Chinese globalists and, all these big tech companies. And we're talking about it here in Hood County.
Yeah.
Hood County, our election administrator brings this up, and now we're Zuckerbergville here. Yeah. So it's time that, once again, we look at what's going on. The people look at what's going on. Get with your elected officials.
Yeah.
So once again, thanks for being here, Nate and Courtney. Shark Show out.